folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Today's episode, Legends of Steel, which is a Savage Worlds role-playing game. In case you haven't noticed, I like Savage Worlds quite a bit, and I like to review their stuff because I think it's really good. This is an independently produced, licensed game for Savage Worlds. What makes Legends of Steel different from some of the other fantasy games for Savage Worlds, which include Shantar, which include Hellfrost, Sundered Skies, all of which we reviewed, is this is specifically a sword and sorcery role-playing game. Now, what differentiates swords and sorcery from high fantasy? Honestly, a point. High fantasy games have a point. Get the ring, drop it into the mountain, or stop the dragon armies from taking over Krynn, or you get the idea. There's some goal you're going to, and you're going to change the world in the process. Swords and sorcery games really aren't that focused. They really don't have that much of a point. This is more your Conan. This is more your Call the Conqueror, or to get away from Howard, this is more of your Thundar the Barbarian, which is a direct influence on this game. This is more the works of Fritz Leiber than it is the works of Tolkien. So what does this game do for you? Well, it gives you tips on how to make your own sword and sorcery game and characters. They give you a lot of recommendations, things that work, things that don't work. They tell you, magic is a really tricky issue because Conan, for example, had very few magicians that were his friends. In fact, most of them were the bad guys in his stories. But at the same time, magic has become a really accepted part of the fantasy genre now. So it gives you ideas for how to work in magic. It gives you a nice kind of primer on what swords and sorcery is, and then it gives you a bunch of edges and skills, how to use them, some nice sample characters at the back, and then it gives you this really good swords and sorcery world that has good stuff to get into, stuff to have fun with, stuff to fight your way through, but you don't end up fixing it in the end. I really get a kick out of that. The world still sucks at the end of this. You've just gotten enough money and you got to go wenching for a night. That's what it is. That's what Swords and Sorcery is really about. You can have a point, yes, and you may end up saving the world, but it's completely by accident. You stop that virgin sacrifice, not because you thought you wanted to kill the priest and save the world, but because, kill the priest, you get the money, and you get the virgin sacrifice. And that's all we're going to say about that because this is a family show. You have a lot of edges that really help you along the way for this. For example, one of the new edges is called Sexy Armor, where you can run around in a loincloth or a chainmail bikini, and it works just as well as regular armor does. It gives you that sort of bonus that you get because, let's face it, Conan really didn't wear a whole lot of armor, at least not in any of the artwork you see of him, and not that Schwarzenegger ever wore. About this setting, it's called The World of Arisia, which I think is how you say it. After Shantar, I've discovered I can't pronounce a damn thing, so I just kind of go with it as best I can. You know what I'm talking about. It gives you kind of a cool little map of it. It's very straightforward. It's not the antediluvian world that Conan thought it was. There's something about that map that just sort of warms the cockles of my heart. But this is really neat because you've got a lot of mountains, you've got a lot of regions your characters can be from, you've got a lot of things to go and investigate, you've got pirate areas, you've got the Green Death jungle. I just really like this. One of my strong memories is when I first got to college, I read somebody's Conan comic book that really detailed sort of the Conan on the ship, and they went to this island, and there are these plants that attack their people, and then the plants made copies of the people they attacked and sent them out to the boat to kill them, and they had to go back and free their friends from the pods, and a lot of people died. It was very dark and gritty. That was really my first example of a sword and sorcery game where you weren't saving the world, you were just saving yourself. Back to point. Really great setting for this. And one of the things I got a kick out of is it gives you a SWOT, S-W-O-T, and for those of you who've ever done any group review, you know what that is, of each kingdom or area. It's a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis for each area, and it ends with a group of player characters that can all be one group, sort of operating together, all at the veteran level, which is really a good way to start your sword and sorcery game. That way you can mow through hordes of beastmen while you're trying to storm the temple to get the big golden statue. Gives you a series of characters, and these sort of have a point, which was basically get the cast out prince back on the throne. That's the biggest point you get here. You're not saving the world, you're just doing a vengeance act, which sort of fits into the whole swords and sorcery theme. This is a great game if you want a break from your, oh look, the world's in trouble again and I have to save it. What am I, the maid? Do I have to pick up after you kings all the time? It's a good break from that sort of setting and gets you into a more free-flowing, freebooting, sort of fun adventure game. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Good day and good gaming.